This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. The Commission on Audit has directed the Philippine National Oil Company Development and Management Corporation to refund 408,798 pesos to a private individual who failed to move into his condomital unit despite settlement of his reservation fee and down payment. The total amount payable to Christopher M. Cahayan included P60,199 pesos representing the down payment for the unit, 108,599 pesos for 6% legal interest from the 20th of October 15 to the 20th of September 22, and 40,000 pesos in attorney's fees. On the 7th of May, 2015, Cahayan purchased from PNOCDMC a unit at the 7th floor of Building C, El Pueblo Condomital located in Santa Mesa, Manila. He paid a reservation fee of 17,000 pesos and a 20% down payment amounting to 195,200 pesos. A week later, however, he was informed that the said unit had already been sold to another buyer, so he was offered a bigger unit on the 6th floor, but it required additional payment. Cahayan agreed, so his reservation fee became 20,000 pesos and the down payment became 240,199 pesos, or a total of 260,199 pesos. Later, he was informed that he could already move into the unit upon settlement of the necessary joining and miscellaneous fees, and not upon full payment of the unit or issuance of corresponding post-dated checks as stated in the contract to sell. Despite payment of 260,199 pesos, Cahayan could not move into the said unit. His repeated demands to PNOCDMC to refund his money were not granted. The PNOCDMC said that the reservation fee forms part of the total contract price and is non-refundable. Cahayan then filed a complaint before the Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board, which granted the refund of his money plus 40,000 pesos attorney's fees and cost of suit. A certificate of finality was issued by the Human Settlements Adjudication Commission on the 28th of February, 2020. The case was filed before the COA on the 3rd of October, 2022, with Cahayan praying for a total of 667,379 pesos. Aside from the principal amount, he sought legal interest worth 217,179 pesos, attorney's fee of 40,000 pesos, and cost of suit of 150,000 pesos. In its decision, the COA said, the propriety of refunding the purchase price of the condominium unit, which gave rise to the claim of Mr. Cahayan, had already been adjudicated by the HLURB and attained finality. Thus, this commission finds no compelling reason to deviate from the finding of the said adjudicating body. Moreover, it was not objected to by PNOCDMC, which has treated the money claim of Mr. Cahayan as a contingent liability since 2016. As regards the claim for cost of suit, although the HLURB granted it, no amount was indicated. This commission cannot determine the amount in the absence of documents to support such claim. Thus, the COA ruled that Cahayan is entitled to the refund of the purchase price of the condominium unit amounting to 260,199 pesos, plus legal interest of 6% from the 17th of October, 2015 to the 30th of September, 2022 of 108,599 pesos, and attorney's fees amounting to 40,000 pesos. The 7-page decision was signed by Chairperson Gamaliel Acordaba and Commissioner Mario G. Lipana, Commissioner Roland Cafe. A policeman is facing administrative and criminal complaints for allegedly running amok inside a cockpit arena in Sogod Town, Cebu Province. Police Corporal Leovic Caming Bracero, an operative of the Talisay City Police Station, was also accused of punching a fellow policeman who arrested him inside the cockpit arena on Wednesday afternoon, the 23rd of July. The service firearm of Bracero and his badge have been confiscated while he is facing investigation, said Police Captain Don Blance Tabares, Information Officer of the Cebu Police Provincial Office. Police said Bracero was drunk when he arrived in the cockpit arena around 4 p.m. Bracero got into an argument with Ranirio Masucal, a retired policeman, and an argument erupted. He challenged Masucal to a fist fight, triggering a commotion. Cockpit management called the police. Bracero, a resident of Barangay Ampungal, Sogod, did not calm down even after a group of policemen arrived. As responding police officers tried to arrest him, Bracero resisted and punched Police Corporal Nico Velasco in the face. The unruly policeman was subdued and taken to the police station. Police Colonel Christopher Bermudez, chief of CPPO, said the behavior shown by Bracero will not be tolerated. Our CPPO director warned that such conduct has no room in the CPPO. We do not condone the behavior of our personnel, Tabares said. A barangay chairman was killed and his son was wounded in a broad daylight shooting incident in front of their house in Barangay Banatan, Gimba, Nueva Ecija on Wednesday afternoon, the 23rd of July. Police identified the fatality as Barangay Banatan chairman Senan Pineda Jr., 55. Investigation said Pineda and son Noel, 32, were supervising the construction of their gate when unidentified men on board a motorcycle arrived and shot them. The Pinedas sustained bullet wounds and Senan was declared dead in a hospital where Noel is recovering. Police are conducting follow-up and manhunt operations. The Commission on Audit has denied the appeal of 4 employees of the Home Development Mutual Fund Regional Office A to exclude them from liabilities in the 33.189 million pesos housing loans of 47 dummy borrowers. Denied were the motions for reconsideration filed by HDMF mortgage loan specialist Raquel R. Pomada, Records Officer 2 Emily B. Pretencio, Loans and Credit Evaluator 3 Rizalito Loresh, and Records Custodian Mark Anthony G. Ferrarone. They contested the COA's the 27th of December, 2016 decision which affirmed notice of disallowance numbers 2009 to 2001 to 2009 to 2047 on the payment of housing loan takeouts of 33,189,000 pesos, and held them liable. The NDs were issued after the discovery of irregularities and breach of warranties on the developmental loan applied for by Reyes Zialcita for the development of Villa Perla subdivision in Barangay Combado, Mazin City, Southern Leyte. Zialcita filed 79 housing loan applications with the HDMF R08 under the Window 1 scheme, wherein the developer receives, evaluates, and approves the housing loan applications of HDMF's member borrowers. However, a number of purported borrowers later complained that they did not avail themselves of the said housing loans. The audit team found that 47 approved loan applications with a total takeout amount of 33,189,000 pesos were under the names of dummy borrowers. The developer was made liable in the NDs, as well as the HDMF officials and employees who did not do their due diligence in the processing and release of loans. The 4 HDMF employees who filed the misses argued that the COA lacked sufficient evidence to hold them liable for the irregularity and claimed that they had no way of detecting the irregularity in the transactions. However, the COA found their arguments bereft of merit. The NDs were the result of a number of irregularities and breach of warranties discovered in the developmental loan applied by Mr. Zialcita for the development of VPS in Barangay Combado, Mazin City, Southern Leyte. The COA's decision stated, in this case, Movens Pretencio and Pomada were held liable as they prepared and reviewed the documents which cover the inspection and validation of documents prior to the release of loan takeouts, while Movens Loresh and Ferrarone, as appraisers, were responsible for signing the confirmation of appraisal. It added, had they exercised diligence and prudence in the performance of their official functions, the COA said that the payment of fictitious housing loans and takeouts could have been avoided. Thus, it said, they shall remain liable under ND numbers 2009 to 2001 to 2009 to 2047 on the payment of housing loan takeouts of 47 dummy borrowers, in the total amount of P33,189,000. The 10-page decision was signed by Chairperson Gamaliel Cordoba and Commissioners Roland Cafe Pondoc and Mario G. Lipana. The Bureau of Customs has relieved 9 customs personnel linked to a reported extortion incident at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3 in Pasay City. BOC Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno said the incident, which occurred in June, is now the subject of a full-blown investigation by the Internal Inquiry Division of the Customs Intelligence and Investigation Service. He said the involved personnel have been removed from their posts pending the outcome of the probe. We take these matters seriously and there will be no leniency for personnel who abuse their position. Any form of misconduct will be met with immediate and appropriate action, the BOC said in a statement. At the same time, Nepomuceno reported that they have implemented a 24-hour complaint reporting policy to ensure immediate action on personnel misconduct. Likewise, a memorandum dated the 24th of July, 2025 was issued, directing all concerned personnel to report formal written complaints filed against BOC personnel to the Office of the Commissioner within 24 hours. Each report must include corresponding spot or incident reports and any relevant supporting documents or evidence to further institutionalize discipline and transparency. The directive also provides that officers with jurisdiction over the personnel involved may be instructed to submit initial findings and recommendations within 48 hours of the complaint's filing. These may include proposals for preventive suspension or relief orders, as deemed necessary by the Commissioner. It also stated that the Commissioner may act motu proprio as necessary to safeguard the integrity of internal processes. The BOC warned that failure to comply with the reporting requirement may result in the presumption of neglect of duty or other administrative violations under the revised rules on administrative cases in the civil service and shall be dealt with accordingly. On the other hand, in a separate statement, the BOC clarified that the 3 million pesos mentioned in the circulating report refers to the dutiable value of the items declared and not the amount allegedly extorted. The Bureau of Customs is currently investigating the reported irregularities and the assertions made in the complaint, it said. A regional trial court in Cotañon, Quezon has issued warrants of arrest for former General Luna, Quezon Mayor Mato in Florido and his administrative aide for 2 counts of large-scale illegal recruitment. Presiding Judge Julius Francis Galvez of the Cotañon Regional Trial Court Branch 96 issued the arrest warrants after finding probable cause to hold the 2 accused for trial. Florido and Joma Cristina Briones allegedly violated Section 6 of Republic Act 8042 of the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995. The charge sheet signed by Assistant Provincial Prosecutor Lirio Rosas Munoz and approved by Provincial Prosecutor Rodrigo Domingo on the 16th of May said Florido and Briones recruited and promised overseas employment to Ginibal Aguila, Mary Rose Roldan, Giancarlo Roldan, Renato Moreno Jr., Rhiannon Recamera, Richie Moreno, Romulo Rodriguez, and Iflida Alano, all residents of Barangay Recto, General Luna, as seasonal farm workers in South Korea without any permit or license from the Department of Migrant Workers or any valid and signed resolution from the Municipal Council of General Luna. The 2 accused allegedly failed to deploy the complainants abroad after submitting passports, other documents, and payment of fees. Florido said he posted on the 14th of September, 2022 on Facebook an offer from a local government counterpart in Korea represented by Lee Di-kyung to provide local farmers opportunity to work in Korea. He said that the partnership is supported by a commitment signing at the municipal hall and attended by members of the Sangguniang Bayan. Florido said that he did not promise to cover all the applicants' expenses and denied that he guaranteed the processing of their passport at the Department of Foreign Affairs. He and Briones said the selection of successful participants is not within their authority and was handled exclusively by their government counterparts in Korea. Florido said that the delay in their deployment was due to the moratorium imposed by the DMW imposed on the 11th of January, 2024. He said that the seasonal farmer program is a valid program of their municipality and backed up by a resolution of the municipal council. Florido's lawyers said that although his case is non-bailable, he may file a bail petition. The Office of the Ombudsman has approved the indictment of former Surigao del Norte Governor Francisco T. Matugas and another former provincial official for the alleged illegal use of funds and the purchase of learning materials worth more than 60 million pesos in 2022. In a 35-page resolution, the OMB ruled that it found probable cause to indict Matugas and former officer in charge Provincial Budget Officer Maria Miller Padehag for illegal use of funds or property in relation to the transfer of funds to the Department of Education Surigao del Norte and Siargao divisions of at least 60,000 pesos drawn from the funds of the provincial government of Surigao del Norte. It pointed out that under Section 336 of the Local Government Code of 1991, government funds should be available exclusively for the specific purpose for which they have been appropriated. The OMB said that of the 60 million pesos, 20 million pesos were used to purchase disaster risk reduction climate change adaptation learning materials. The funds were taken from the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office Fund, which was appropriated by Appropriation Ordinance No. 3. It said that the fund appropriated by law should have been utilized accordingly and implemented by the PDRRMO as the proper implementing office. Thus, it is clear respondents diverted the 20 million pesos from the purpose for which they had been originally appropriated by the Appropriation Ordinance No. 3. It stated. It also said that there was also 50 million pesos released to 3 divisions of the Department of Education, namely, Surigao del Norte Division, Siargao Division, and Surigao City Division. Of the 3 divisions, The OMB found the DepEd Surigao City Division took the advice of the Surigao del Norte Governor Robert Lyndon S. Barbers not to proceed with the purchase of the learning materials, excluding the amount for DepEd Surigao City Division. The OMB said 43,330,500 pesos, as certified by the Provincial Budget Office, were taken from the line items in Appropriation Ordinance 3. It said that it is indisputable that the amounts used to procure the subject supplementary learning materials have already been earmarked by the Appropriation Ordinance for specific expense. The OMB also pointed out that in the release of around 60 million pesos funds, there was no ordinance authorizing Matugas to augment and transfer funds. Hence, the realignment and disbursement of funds amounting to a total of 60 million pesos used in the procurement of the DRRCCA mainstreamed learning materials and the supplementary learning materials had no basis, it added. On the other hand, the OMB cleared the other respondents in the complaint that was filed in 2023 by Oscar M. Pochpia Jr. The state's anti-graft body has indicted former and incumbent officials of the Cebu city government over the controversial 239 million pesos garbage deal it entered in the previous year. The Office of the Ombudsman found probable cause to charge 8 City Hall executives for malversation of funds and violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, Republic Act No. 1319. Those indicted included former City Administrator Floro Casas Jr., Department of Public Services Chief John Jigo Dacua, and Cebu Environmental Sanitation and Enforcement Team Head and former Garbage Collection and Disposal in Charge Grace Luardo Silva. Also among the respondents were Alan Omlero Ceballos, Inspection Officer of DPS, Romelito Asenjo, City Treasurer's Office Inspector, Mark Abaquez Ugbana, General Services Office Inspector, Jerome Vicera Onopia, Acting City Accountant, and Mayor V. Reyes, Acting City Treasurer. Additionally, the Ombudsman slapped them with the penalty of dismissal from service as well as forfeiture of retirement benefits, perpetual disqualification from holding public office and bar from taking civil service examination. The case stemmed from a request of Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama to investigate what he described as an irregular and anomalous contract the previous administration had entered into with the contractor for the city garbage collection in 2021. In 2022, the National Bureau of Investigation in Central Visayas filed the criminal and administrative cases before the Ombudsman. NBI uncovered anomalies in the city's garbage collection, such as overbilling and padding or falsification of documents. Sought for their comments, Casas and Dacua, in separate interviews, said they will exhaust all legal remedies in the hopes of overturning the Ombudsman's decision. Once I receive the copy of the resolution, I still have 5 days to file a motion for reconsideration, so the Ombudsman's decision is not yet final, said Casas. Both Casas and Dacua expressed relief that the anti-graft investigators dismissed the plunder accusations hurled against them as it carries heavier penalties compared to malversation of funds. We respect the decision of the Ombudsman. I'm just glad that the plunder charge was dismissed, although the matter is not yet final. Rest assured, we will avail of the legal remedies available to us, Dacua explained. Charges have been filed against former Overseas Workers Welfare Administration Administrator Arnel Ignacio and 2 other former OWWA officials for the alleged anomalous 1.4 billion pesos land acquisition deal, according to the Department of Migrant Workers. In a statement, the DMW said charges were filed on Tuesday before the Office of the Ombudsman against Ignacio and his 2 former deputy administrators, as well as 6 others who were part of the sellers group to whom the 1.4 billion pesos was paid to. They are being accused of violating the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, the Anti-Plunder Act, and Article 217 of the Revised Penal Code regarding the malversation of public funds. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak earlier told reporters on Monday that the DMW will be filing complaints against the former OWWA officials during an ambush interview on the sidelines of President Marcos' 4th State of the Nation address. This matter is in line with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s call for accountability in public service, so clearly echoed in his SONA. And, of course, to make sure that we enforce, we carry out, we implement the necessary laws governing accountability of public officials, as what has transpired in this case, Kakdak said in the statement. According to the DMW, the case stemmed from the acquisition of a 1.5-hectare parcel of land near Ninoy Aquino International Airport in September last year. The land was to be used for the construction of a halfway house for returning overseas Filipino workers, but the property was deemed unsuitable for development due to its proximity to the airport's runway, the agency said. It was then discovered that the OWWA Board of Directors were not consulted with the acquisition of the land, said the DMW. The board also did not authorize the contract to sell, the deed of sale and the supplemental agreement regarding the purchase. CACDAC said further investigation revealed that vouchers and checks were signed prior to the deed of sale. Following this development, the DMW chief said the agency will be looking at the possibility of filing civil charges as well in order to recover some of the damages. CACDAC added that the DMW will be coordinating with current OWWA Administrator Patricia Yvonne Cornyn in order to establish reforms and safety nets to prevent similar incidents in the future. Ignacio was appointed as OWWA Administrator in 2022 by President Marcos, before being removed from the position in May due to the alleged unauthorized land deal. Following President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s call for accountability with the police force, the Philippine National Police on Wednesday revealed that 19 police officers have been dismissed since Philippine National Police General Nicolas Torre III assumed office on the 2nd of June. In a press conference at Camp Crame, Inspector General Brigido Dule of the Internal Affairs Service, a watchdog agency of the PNP, said the highest official among the 19 dismissed was a police lieutenant colonel. Other sacked personnel included non-commissioned officers, an executive master sergeant, a senior master sergeant, a police corporal, and a patrolman. 9 administrative cases were also resolved that resulted in the suspension of a police officer and the demotion of 2 more PNP personnel, while 9 others were exonerated. In just about 1 month since PNP chief assumed, and this is based on our PNP chief's directive that we have disciplined police force and to speed up the resolution of administrative cases, he added. Meanwhile, 199 cases have yet to be resolved involving 766 police officers. Of the cases, 88 are undergoing summary hearing proceedings, 78 are awaiting formal charges, and 33 are still being evaluated. The Police Inspector General said information on the nature of the cases was not immediately available, but many of them involved grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. Torre earlier assured the public that the PNP will continue to strengthen its internal disciplinary mechanisms and ensure that all officers adhere to the law, upholding the values of integrity, accountability, and public service. Meanwhile, Dule revealed that most of the police officers accused in the alleged abduction and murder of the missing cockfighting enthusiasts had prior administrative cases, but declined to detail the previous offenses of the officers pending the resolution of the administrative case filed by the National Police Commission on Tuesday. I won't lay out their past cases anymore since we've already submitted documents to the NAPOLCOM, but several of the officers were involved in various kinds of administrative cases. Out of the 12, probably more than half, Dule said, the officers were charged with grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer, with an additional grave neglect of duty charge against one of them. The Sandigan has sentenced former Palawan Governor Joel Reyes to 110 years in prison in connection with questionable contracts worth 1.5 billion pesos that the provincial government entered into during his term. In a 625-page decision promulgated on Tuesday, the Anti-Graft Court's 2nd Division found Reyes guilty of 11 counts of violation of Section 3E of Republic Act 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. The law prohibits public officials from giving unwarranted benefit, advantage or preference to any party, or from causing any party, including the government, undue injury. The Anti-Graft Court sentenced Reyes to 6 years and 1 month to 10 years in prison for each count of the offense, or a total of 66 to 110 years. Aside from prison terms, the 2nd Division disqualified Reyes from holding public office. Reyes is not required to serve the total period of his sentence as the country's penal justice system limits the maximum period of prison terms for a felony to only 40 years. In the same ruling, the Sandigan acquitted Reyes of 3 counts of violation of Section 3E of RA 3019 and 22 counts of Section 3G, after the prosecution failed to prove his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Section 3G of RA 3019 prohibits public officials from entering into any contract or transaction that is disadvantageous to the government. Filed by the Office of the Ombudsman in 2017, the charges stemmed from the awarding of contracts for various construction projects during Reyes' term as governor in 2008. Reyes is undergoing trial for the murder of journalist and environmentalist Jerry Ortega on the 20th of January 11. He is currently detained at the Puerto Princesa City Jail. Apart from Reyes, named respondents in the cases were 25 former Palawan officials and 16 private suppliers and contractors. Records showed that Reyes, in behalf of the provincial government, entered into 203 contracts amounting to 1.5 billion pesos. The funds used for the contracts were reportedly sourced from the operation of the Malampaya natural gas project in the province. The contracts were intended for various public works and infrastructure projects in the municipalities of Balabac, Brooks Point, Busuanga, Culion Island, Coron, El Nido, Dumaran, Nara, Quezon, Rizal, Roxas, San Vicente and Taytay as well as Puerto Princesa. The projects included construction of school buildings, daycare centers and multi-purpose halls, repairs of roads and bridges, improvement of the San Vicente Airport and Coron Bay, and installation of solar panel and street lights. The court said the ombudsman was able to prove that several provisions of RA 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act were violated in the awarding of the contracts. The court noted the non-posting of invitations to bid on the provincial government's website, improper evaluation of bid proposals, non-submission of bidding documents by a majority of contractors, and the lack of requirement for contractors to pay damages in case of delays in the completion of the projects. 2 jail officers assigned to the Negros Occidental District Jail in Bago City have been relieved from their posts effective following a recent shooting incident that targeted one of them. The relief order, signed by Jail Chief Superintendent Brendan Fulgencio, Director of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology Negros Island Region, is part of an ongoing administrative investigation by the regional office, according to Jail Senior Inspector Junavan Umadhay, Chief of the BJMP-NIR Legal Service Section. Both officers, who were involved in jail operations, were reassigned to undisclosed locations for security reasons. The second officer, although not directly targeted, was relieved to prevent any interference in the investigation. Authorities are exploring whether the attack was linked to the officer's professional duties or a personal matter, as both officers had frequent interactions with persons deprived of liberty. A parallel investigation has been launched to determine the motive behind the shooting. The investigation will assess whether the attempt on his life was job-related, particularly due to his dealings with PDLs, to enable the Bureau to respond appropriately through legal and administrative channels. Fulgencio affirmed his commitment to both accountability and protection, stating he would not tolerate any misconduct among BJMP personnel, but would ensure support for those lawfully performing their duties. The BJMP-NIR reassured the public of its ongoing commitment to humane and professional management of PDLs. The incident occurred when the jail officer was in a car wash in front of the jail facility in Barangay Tabunan. 2 unidentified assailants on a motorcycle opened fire. The officer escaped harm by taking cover behind a vehicle. A passing tricycle driver sustained injuries from a stray bullet or shattered glass. The BJMP-NIR is coordinating closely with police as part of its broader investigation. A policeman is facing a string of charges after he was accused of stealing a cell phone and indiscriminate firing in Benglanilla town, Cebu province at noon on Tuesday, the 29th of July. Police Staff Sergeant Abraham Quijano, 45, and his civilian companion, Joel Butron Mandras, 41, were arrested in a hot pursuit operation. Quijano, a resident of Barangay Tapal, Talisay City, Cebu, is assigned to the Regional Mobile Force Battalion Central Visayas. Police Major Ariza Otada, chief of the Minglanilla police station, said Quijano and Mandras were allegedly unruly when they broke into a furniture shop. Quijano allegedly took the cell phone of a man who they chanced upon in the shop. Otada said they were alerted about the incident and immediately rushed to the scene. The policeman and his companion were no longer in the shop when they arrived. The duo left aboard a motorcycle and barged into another furniture shop. The policeman was reportedly heard shouting, "We are maniacs" inside. Quijano allegedly fired several shots using his 9mm Glock service firearm before leaving. A hot pursuit operation was launched that led to Quijano's arrest. The stolen cell phone was recovered from Quijano's possession, Otata said. Police Colonel Christopher Bermudez, chief of the Cebu Provincial Police Office, said the incident will be investigated thoroughly. Bermudez assured that there will be no whitewash in the investigation, as he warned that apart from criminal charges, Quijano will also face administrative complaints. Police said charges for domicile, illegal discharge of firearm, unjust vexation, and theft will be filed against the suspect. AGAP party list representative Nicanor Browns has admitted to being the House member who was caught on video watching a cockfight on his cell phone during the House session on Monday. However, Browns denied that the video was eSaban, an online gambling platform featuring cockfights. "My conscience is clear. I'm not a fighter. You won't see me even in the cockpit." And fake news. Online fighter talk. "I don't even have Gcash. I don't even have money transfers online," Browns told reporters in an interview. Browns said the video was part of a message from a relative who invited him to sponsor a cockfight derby. With the video going viral, Browns said he would no longer accept the invitation. He also plans to file a bill pushing for a total ban on online gambling. "It's not true. That's why I'm fake news. That's why I'm coming before you. I don't want to embarrass Congress, because it's like they let me out. I'm not doing anything, but the voting is long. Someone just messaged me, my nephew, who wanted to invite me to a traditional cockfight that he wanted me to fight." Browns said, "I'm not interested either. I'm not even trying. So maybe I'm already here. Someone wants to sabotage us because we have a lot of conflicts. My number one fight is against smugglers," he added. Browns apologized to the House of Representatives and the public for the controversy. He said he also forgave those who took his video without his consent, which he said was a violation of the Data Privacy Act. "I apologize because the way I responded on Messenger affected the institution, even the public, even the institution here in Congress," Browns said. "If anyone did this to me before, who made a video, made fake news that I was watching or online cockfighting, I don't know your motive, but it's over. I just explained my part. Whatever your motive was, I forgive you. All I can say is, don't do it again, because next time, you might end up in jail," he added. That's all for this week. I'll see you next Friday with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.